The Silverstone Air Penetrator is not a new product, and by that I mean the design. This particular fan design has been in production in one form or another since 2010, which may as well be the 1980s. However, this does not mean that this fan is outdated. Quite on the contrary, a design to live this long means that it was pretty good to begin with, and it also means that it has received plenty of updates. In this review, we have the Air Penetrator 120i Pro. This is a 120mm fan that can be bought for around $22 or euros. A price that does not make that much sense, as the Noctua NF F12 PWM is cheaper at just $19 or $20 on average. In addition, the Air Penetrator is delivered with very little in terms of accessories or added features. Which brings us to the accessory bundle, and here we have 4 standard metal screws to install the fan on your case and 4 rubber mounts for yet again case installation of the fan. And that's it, nothing else. Now that we've got that covered, it's time to see why this fan is priced so high on the market, and we start with the Air Penetrator design, which has been, as I've said at the beginning of this review, quite resilient in terms of time. One of the first things you'll see with these fans are the impellers. There's 9 of them and they're not the same shape. This mixed impeller design has as its main goal the reduction of the noise of the fan, especially when spinning at very high RPMs. Still speaking about the impellers, a good thing to see on a fan, especially those that are designed for high static pressure, is a smaller than average gap between the tip of the impellers and the inner side of the fan frame. This way there is less leakage of air when the fan is spinning, and thus more static pressure is generated and pushed by the fan inside the radiator or the heatsink. The bearing system used by this fan is a standard double bearing. While this might not be the newest or most high-tech system out there, not like for example the Noctua SSO systems, it does have its advantages. First of all, a dual ball bearing system is reliable and will work for many years. In fact, these bearing systems don't really break that often, they just get louder and louder until you have enough and completely replace the fan. You may also remember that at the beginning of the video I said that this fan has very little in terms of accessories or added feature. There's a good reason for that regarding the features. You see, while other fans, even cheaper fans, have some form of padding placed on the fan frame, especially on the corners, the Silverstone Air Penetrator has nothing. This is bare plastic. And it is quite unfortunate for a fan that is priced on this level. Is it a deal breaker? Not really. It is just a hassle in the long term. The cable of the Air Penetrator is long enough, however it lacks any protection, and by that I mean that it lacks any sleeving. This is not that bad as the wires are all black, so they will match the rest of the system. However, it makes justifying the price of the fan just a little bit harder. In addition, the power is delivered through a standard 4-pin connector, and this fan is as always compatible with PWM. All this being said, the highlight of the Silverstone Air Penetrator is however located at the back, and this is why this fan is recommended by so many people. You see, this design at the back of the fan frame has nothing to do with the looks of the fan and has everything to do with its performance. Silverstone recommends this fan as ideal to be installed at the front of your case as an intake, and there's a good reason for that. You see, this design at the back changes the way air is exhausted by the fan. The simplest way to say this is that the air will be channeled out the back of the fan, and thus you can direct the intake air straight into a particular area of your system, most likely straight into the side of your graphics card. Now that we've covered how this fan looks like and what makes it special as a product, we must find out if it's actually performing as we hope it does. And first we start with a noise test. This is done alongside a noise reading test because while the decibel value is good to have and to use for comparisons, it does not take into consideration unwanted noises such as vibrations, impeller oscillation, or the worst of them all, bearing noises such as the ticking or rattling. In this test, the fan will start spinning from a dead stop and continue to increase its speed to its maximum. Then it will gradually slow down to 0 RPM again. In the case of the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro, this means that the fan will start from 0 RPM and go all the way up to 2000 RPM. With a maximum rated speed of 2000 RPM, the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro reached a maximum decibel value of 40 decibels, with the measuring device placed at a distance of 10 cm away from the fan. This noise level is in fact quite low for such a high rotational speed. Also notice how the fan bearing system is completely silent, and the overall sound signature of the air penetrator is created by the air being pushed through the grill at the back of the fan. The performance testing is done with the help of a 240mm radiator that is part of a closed-loop CPU cooler. This is done with any fan that is reviewed, regardless of their designated purpose. While it is not fair to test airflow designed fan on a radiator, it is still a way to measure the behavior in such a case. And this is the same deal with the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro. As while it is advertised as an airflow optimized fan and especially as a case intake fan, so far both the impeller design and the grill at the back of the fan are good signs that the air penetrator will offer a good performance on a radiator as well. The used CPU is the Intel i9 9900K running at 5 GHz on all cores, while the liquid cooler used is the Cooler Master Liquid 240. The ambient temperature is fixed at 20 degrees Celsius and the temperature is registered on the CPU side. And in this test, the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro reached a maximum temperature of 72 degrees Celsius. Quite a good performance, which placed this fan next to models such as the Be Quiet Silent Wings 3, the Fractal Design Prisma or the NF F12 PWM from Noctua. Quite good for an airflow fan, to say the least. However, why would a fan like this perform this good on a radiator? And the reason for that is pretty simple: brute force and a bit of ingenuity. You see, the air penetrator spins at a maximum of 2000 RPM, while the back of the fan frame has a circular grill which will create an air channel at the back of the fan. These two elements create a good way for the fan to push all of its airflow into the radiator or the heatsink. And the important thing is that it works and that it will never break. The Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro is certainly a unique fan no matter how you're looking at it. Its design has remained unchanged for the most part and it will stand out. However, as the manufacturer says on their own website, this fan is designed around its air channeling feature, which means that you will get the most out of this fan by using it as intended, as an intake at the front of your case, preferably aligned with your graphics card. In terms of the performance, the Air Penetrator 120i Pro is good for its price, and it can work both as a case fan or as a radiator or a heatsink fan. In terms of the noise, while the noise output is higher than what most people would like to see, the sound generated by the fan is not going to be irritating in time, as there are no low-pitched noises or bearing noises to be heard. However, that circular grille design at the back does increase the overall noise signature of the fan, as the air is pushed by the impellers through quite small gaps. The Air Penetrator 120i Pro can be had for around $22 or euros, and to be completely honest, that is a bit too expensive for such a fan. While the performance is good and the design is functional and unique, the market is different than what it was 10 years ago. Not only is this fan not RGB enabled at all, but it has no features that will aid in the looks department, as in nothing at all. The lack of rubber pads on the corners of the fan frame is disappointing and the cable could have had some sleeving on it. However, if what you want is air being pushed in a specific area of your system, then the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro is the fan that will deliver just that, and it will deliver it for a long time thanks to its reliable bearing system. If you liked this review, then you can perhaps consider subscribing for more, and if you want to support the channel in a direct way, then in the description below you can find both the Patreon and subscriber star pages of this channel.